Welcome to the Opening Bell Report.
Okay, so I want you to picture this for a second. You're a military commander. You've spent, I don't know, the last 30 years and billions of dollars building the ultimate fortress. You've got these $5 million tanks, concrete walls 3 feet thick, the best radar money can buy. You feel invincible.
That is usually the exact moment just before everything goes wrong.
Exactly. Because suddenly you hear this buzzing sound.
Yeah.
And it's not a fighter jet. It's not a missile.
It's a $300 drone.
A $300 plastic quadcopter that anyone, literally anyone, can buy online. And it's carrying a cheap explosive. And just like that, your $5 million tank is just scrap metal.
It's the absolute definition of asymmetric warfare. The entire math of war just breaks when a toy can take out a strategic asset.
And that is the hook for today. We aren't talking about building better tanks. We're talking about the company that claims it has the ultimate answer to that little buzzing sound. We are doing a deep dive into an analysis report on Ondas Holdings, ticker symbol ONDS.
And this is such a fascinating case because, Ondas has really pivoted. They used to be this niche industrial data firm.
Right, I remember them from that. Railroads, private networks, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But this new analysis report, it puts them squarely in the defense tech prime category.
Prime is a big word, a really big word in defense. That usually means the heavy hitters like your Lockheed Martins or Raytheons.
It does. But looking at the numbers in this report, the market is definitely starting to pay attention.
Well, yeah. The stock is hovering around $10, maybe $10.05, up about 8%. But analysts are throwing out these price targets of $18 to $25.
Which is, a massive upside from where they are sitting right now.
It is. And the report's title isn't exactly subtle either. It's literally called 1000% Potential, with a question mark. So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out if that question mark should maybe be an exclamation point. We need to unpack 3 things. Okay. The sci-fi tech they're using, this certain billion-dollar mountain of cash they're sitting on, and whether this valuation is actually grounded in reality or if it's just pure hype.
To really understand Ondas and that whole 1000% potential claim, you first have to understand the sheer panic happening in defense circles right now.
For sure.
Look at Ukraine, look at the Middle East. The drone threat isn't some theoretical thing anymore. It is the dominant feature of modern conflict.
And it's not just the military, is it? The report really highlights critical infrastructure. Airports, stadiums, oil refineries.
Total sitting ducks for a drone swarm. They are. And the problem is that our traditional ways of stopping things in the sky just don't work well against these small, cheap drones. Historically, you'd use kinetic methods.
Which is the polite military way of saying you blow it up.
Exactly. Missiles, bullets, even other kamikaze drones. And that works fine in the middle of a desert where the only thing you're going to hit is sand.
But not over a crowded football stadium.
Or downtown Berlin. If you shoot it with a missile, gravity takes over, the debris falls, the explosive payload falls.
Right. So you might stop the specific attack, but you could still hurt people or damage property with all the shrapnel. Not exactly a mission accomplished moment.
Not at all. So method number 2 is jamming. Electronic warfare. You just blast the whole area with radio frequency noise to drown out the signal between the pilot and the drone.
That sounds safer. No falling debris, no explosions.
It's physically safer, yeah. But electronically, it can be a total disaster. Jamming is a blunt instrument. It doesn't just stop the drone.
It stops everything.
It interferes with police radios, hospital equipment, Wi-Fi, even air traffic control signals. If you jam a drone near an airport, you might accidentally blind the entire control tower.
So you're swinging a sledgehammer when you really need a scalpel.
Perfectly put. And that is the specific gap Ondas is filling with their subsidiary, Centrix. The report calls their tech a cyber RF protocol takeover.
Okay, let's pause right there. Cyber RF protocol takeover. That sounds like a whole lot of buzzwords just thrown into a blender. Can we break that down? What is actually happening?
Think of it less like a weapon and more like a universal translator. Every commercial drone speaks a specific language, a protocol to its controller.
A digital language.
It's a constant stream of data. Go left, go right, here's my GPS, here's my battery.
Like a digital handshake between the remote and the drone itself.
Exactly. So Centrix has built this massive library of all these different protocols. When a drone enters the airspace, the system doesn't shoot at it, it listens. It identifies the specific dialect that drone is speaking.
So it figures out the brand. It says, oh, that's a DJI Mavic, or that's an Autel drone.
Precisely. And once it knows the language, it doesn't just jam the signal with noise, it actually inserts itself into the conversation. It effectively says to the drone, I am your pilot now. ignore that other guy.
It hijacks it.
It commandeers it, it completely disconnects the original operator, and this is the aha moment, this is where the value is. It doesn't just make the drone fall out of the sky.
Right.
It commands the drone to navigate to a preset safe zone and land itself gently.
That is wild. So if I'm a bad actor flying a drone into a stadium, all of a sudden my screen goes black, and the drone just politely flies away and lands itself in a police parking lot.
That is the exact capability. No explosion, no falling debris, and because it's so targeted, it's only speaking to that one drone's protocol. It doesn't mess with the Wi-Fi or the police radios next door.
I can immediately see why that's a game changer for cities. You can't have missiles flying around London or New York.
And the market agrees. The report highlights a major contract they signed in February 2026 with the German state police.
Why is that one contract so important? Is it just about the money?
The revenue is good, but the validation is what's key. It's so much better. Germany has some of the strictest privacy and safety regulations in the world.
Oh, for sure.
So if the German police are authorized to use this system in their cities, it basically gives Ondas a license to hunt across the entire European market. It proves the tech isn't just vaporware. It passes the regulatory smell test in a very, very difficult market.
So it's the difference between a cool prototype in a lab and an actual deployed product that's protecting civilians.
Exactly. But, as we all know, having cool tech is one thing. Being a viable business that can deliver 1,000% returns, that's another. And this is where the report gets really interesting about their financials.
You're talking about the war chest.
The war chest. In January of 2026, Ondas closed a massive equity offering. We are talking $1 billion.
Okay, let's just put that in context for everyone. For a company of this size, market cap around $4.25 billion, raising $1 billion in cash is huge.
It's completely transformational. You have to remember, through 2024 and 2025, the big bear case against Ondas, the reason people wouldn't touch the stock was always liquidity.
They were going to run out of money.
Everyone liked the tech, but they were terrified the company would run out of cash before they could actually scale. They were in survival mode.
Living paycheck to paycheck as a company.
Basically. But now, they have roughly $1.5 billion in cash on hand. To put that in perspective, they have more cash in the bank than the entire market cap of some of their smaller competitors.
So they went from worrying about keeping the lights on to, shopping for yachts?
In a corporate sense, yes. The report notes this completely shifts the narrative from survival to deployment. I mean, when you're bidding for a 10-year government contract, that government needs to know you aren't going bankrupt next year.
And a $1.5 billion balance sheet answers that question pretty definitively.
It does, and it lets them be aggressive. The report talks about acquisitions.
Right. They're not just relying on their own growth.
No, they're buying up the whole ecosystem. The report points to the acquisition of RoboTeam as a really key driver here.
RoboTeam. They're the ground robot guys, right? Like the little bomb disposal units and those tactical dogs.
Yeah, that's them. So now Ondas isn't just the drone-stopping company. They're becoming an autonomous systems prime. They can control the air with Centrix and the ground with RoboTeam. That $1 billion lets them buy up other tech to fill in any gaps and offer a total package.
Which explains the revenue forecast.
Sure.
I was looking at these numbers and I had to double check them to make sure I was misreading it. FY 2025 revenue is estimated around $49-50 million.
Roughly, yeah.
But for FY 2026, the forecast jumps to between 170 and 180 million.
That is a 250% revenue explosion in a single year.
That's just unheard of in the defense sector. Usually defense grows at 5%? Maybe 10% on a really good year.
If you're lucky, this is hypergrowth.
Yeah.
And it's also important to note the report says they're targeting a gross margin of over 40% as they scale up.
Why does that margin number matter so much to the listener?
Because it tells you what kind of company this is. Hardware companies, people who just bend metal and weld tanks, they usually have pretty low margins. 40% plus suggests that a lot of what they're selling is actually software defined. They're selling the intelligence, the code, that library of protocols, not just the physical box. And software scales so much better than hardware.
Okay, but this is why I have to play the skeptic for a minute. We have a $4.25 billion market cap. We have revenue of, let's be generous, $180 million next year. If I do that math, that stock is trading at something like 23 to 30 times its forward sales.
It is rich, as they say on Wall Street.
Rich. That sounds incredibly expensive. Yeah. Look at the comparisons in the report. AeroVironment, ABAV, they're the gold standard for small drones.
Yeah.
They trade at 8 times sales. Kratos is at 3 times sales. Ondas is at 30.
Right.
Why would any rational investor pay 10 times more for $1 of Ondas's revenue than $1 of Kratos's revenue?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? The argument, the whole bull case, is that you aren't paying for a defense contractor. You're paying for a tech platform. Investors are applying a SaaS multiple, software as a service, rather than a defense multiple.
Because of that growth rate, that 250%.
Exactly. If you believe they can triple their revenue every year for the next 3 years, then 30 times sales today actually looks cheap in hindsight. You're paying for the slope of the curve, not its current height.
So it's the Tesla argument applied to the defense world. You don't value Tesla like you value Ford, because Ford grows at 2% and Tesla, grows at 50.
That's the one. But that also brings us right to the risk. When you are priced for perfection, you have to execute perfectly.
Yeah, there is absolutely no room for error at 30 times sales.
None. If they miss that 170 million target by even 10 million, or if that German contract hits a snag, the stock won't just dip, it'll crash. That's the danger of a hypergrowth premium. It relies entirely on momentum.
So let's look at who's trying to eat their lunch. We mentioned the jamming guys and the kinetic guys. Who are the specific names we should know?
Well, you have Drone Shield. They're an Australian company, very popular recently. They make those great handheld jamming guns.
I've seen those. They look like something out of a sci-fi movie.
They do. And they're effective on a battlefield, but again, in a city, jamming is risky. Then you've got AeroVironment with their Switchblade loitering munitions.
Suicide drones.
Right, incredible technology for hunting tanks in Ukraine. But you cannot use a switchblade to stop a drone over a populated stadium. You can't just blow things up in civil society.
So Ondas has carved out this very specific niche, urban and homeland security.
That's their moat. The ability to distinguish between friend and foe and then take control safely, that is something a jammer can't do, and a missile certainly can't do.
And it really seems like the market for urban security is only getting bigger. It's not just war zones anymore. It's protecting data centers, government buildings, VIPs.
Precisely. As the threat proliferates into civilian life, the solution has to be civilian-friendly.
Okay, so let's circle all the way back to the headline that grabbed us at the start. 1,000% potential. Is the report saying this stock is going to go up 1,000% next week?
Definitely not, no. Please do not mortgage your house based on a deep dive headline. This is a long-term thesis.
Okay.
The analyst is modeling a scenario where Ondas evolves from a mid-cap company, which is where it is now, into a major defense prime over the next decade.
So becoming the next Raytheon, but for the autonomous age?
Exactly. Moving from a $4 billion company to a $40 billion company. That's the 1,000% journey.
And what has to go right for that to happen?
3 big things. 1, they have to deploy that billion-dollar war chest, effectively buying the right tech without overpaying. 2, Centric's adoption has to go global, beyond Germany, into the US, the UK, Asia. And 3, they have to maintain those software-like margins.
And if they fail, what's the bear case? What keeps that analyst up at night?
The bear case is that the tech becomes a commodity. What if DJI, updates their encryption and Centrix can't crack it anymore? What if a cheaper competitor figures out protocol takeover?
Right.
Then Ondas is just a hardware company trading at a software valuation and the stock collapses. Or, much more simply, they just burn through all that cash without producing a hit product.
So it's a high wire act, but the analyst's final verdict is accumulate on dips.
It is. They see the breakout above $10 as a technical confirmation that the market is buying into the story. And frankly, that cash pile provides a bit of a floor. It's pretty hard to go bankrupt when you have $1 billion in the bank. It makes it a safe speculative play if that's not a complete oxymoron.
It is a fascinating setup. You have the threat drones everywhere.
Right.
You have the solution hacking them instead of shooting them. And you have the fuel, $1 billion to burn.
It's the industrialization of counter-drone tech. We're moving away from brute force security and towards smart control.
Smart control. That phrase really sticks with me.
Why is that?
Well, just think about where this goes next. If Centrix can hack a drone in midair, take over its controls and land it safely, that's basically a remote takeover of an autonomous vehicle.
Right. The principle is exactly the same.
And we are rushing headfirst into a world of autonomous delivery trucks, robo-taxis, maybe even autonomous passenger planes. If the police need to stop a getaway car in, say, 2035, and that car is self-driving, do they shoot the tires?
Or do they just call Ondas?
Exactly. That's the logical next step. If everything is software-defined, then security isn't about firepower anymore. It's about who has the master key.
It's a brave new world, and Ondas is certainly trying to sell the keys to it.
Are we entering a world where the ultimate weapon is just a better remote control? It really makes you wonder if hacking is going to become the primary form of policing. Well, that is plenty for you to chew on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Ondas Holdings. We'll catch you on the next one.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.